Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Ammar Elm, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to be joined by Justin Heuff, the founder and CEO of Project Icon, a creative agency specializing in experiential marketing and event production. Justin, welcome to Founders Future.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in. I always like to take things back to before you actually became an entrepreneur. And for you, we might be going back quite a while because you have a pretty
11
eclectic
years.
background. Yeah, 11 years you said.
Yeah.
Okay, so take me back before you got into entrepreneurship. What were you doing beforehand? And then what was your first company? What were the next few companies? Like, what motivated you to get into this whole world in the first place?
I think like a lot of entrepreneurs, the obvious thing was I wasn't good at being an employee, right? I wasn't good at taking orders. I wasn't good at listening. That being a good subordinate was just not in my wheelhouse. And so before I started any of my companies, I was in restaurants for actually a long time, for almost 10 years as well. And I had managed restaurants, and then I co-founded a restaurant that's a local kind of poke bowl shop. And then I got hired to be an executive of sales for a large payment processing merchant cash advance lending company.
Nice.
And that was my first take into real sales. And it was there that I learned that if I'm good at sales, then I can sell anything, and it doesn't have to be what I'm selling right now. And so that's when I started going into my first venture, which is called Codex Media, which was a digital advertising agency, and it's still in operation. I'm thankful enough that I don't have to be there every single day. And that business was actually founded with two of my employees at that company. One was a web designer, the other one was dabbling in SEO and Google Ads at the time. And we decided to just break away from that and start our own thing.
Powerful. So the Codex was a digital marketing agency. You said that's still in operation. Are you still the owner of the company, or how did that work?
Still the owner. I've got a couple of different partners that run the day to day. Like I said, I take more of a advisory CEO role now, where I touch base with all of my companies, help drive it forward, and again, CEO business development type ways, building new strategies for the future. But I don't actually have to be in my companies anymore.
I'd love to talk about how you got to that point. Before we do, walk me through what are the different companies in your current portfolio?
So a couple of different ones. So the Codex is one of them. KR Consulting is another, although that's more of just an advisory role. The main ones are Social Sprite, which is a social media advertising agency, social media management, that kind of thing. There's Referral Partner Academy, and then there's Project Icon. But I've had my hands in a lot of different things, from app building and automation tools, things like that. It's been around the world and back.
Okay, very cool. I'm curious, how did you start all of these? Did you have partners in all of them? Did you just get an idea and what made you start them, and how did you get the skill sets necessary to be able to start them?
So I would say my first company, Codex, what I realized was I'm good at sales, which is the primary engine for any business, but I'm not good at back end systems, back end organization, none of that stuff. And so I had to find people. And at the time, at least in that business, when you are just starting off and you don't have any revenue, you can't pay anybody. So you need to bring on partners. So that was the obvious piece for that. Then I realized that as I was growing and building my company, I started having other ideas. And those ideas couldn't necessarily fall under the Codex banner. And they didn't need to be competitors either, but you could make one off businesses. Because of the age of technology that we live in, creating a business is extremely easy now.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I would strategically partner with people, a lot of whom were actually my customers in Codex, people that I had worked with for years, that I knew that I could trust, that I knew had a good head on their shoulders. I would approach them with these ideas, and we would go and start building them. And some of them weren't successful. Not everything is, right? But I'm very fortunate that a lot of them have been.
Yeah. And then what do you have to put in place to get out of the day-to-day? I can imagine a big part of it is having somebody you can trust running the day-to-day. but what are some of the biggest keys for you that allowed you to step into more of the advisory role, CEO role, and overlook these companies, but not be in the day-to-day?
So you need to find a killer offer that absolutely crushes your competitors. And you need to have a system in the back end that makes that infinitely scalable. You find a partner that is able to manage that back end and that scalability, and all the other little pieces come and go, obviously. And then you have to find one killer salesperson. That's how it really starts. That can replace you. Because as an owner, my closing rate will beat anybody else's any day of the week, right? Because I'm the owner of the business. I know the business the best. If somebody gets on with me, but knowing that if my closing rate is 60%, if I can get someone at 40%, then that to me is a huge win. And if I can find that killer person, then I can then walk away from the business and then start working on more of the macro approaches. In every business that I've done, I start off being the principal sales individual, the principal salesperson. And then from there, my first immediate thing is as I'm closing business and proving the concept essentially for the offer, I am finding at the same time killer salespeople that can go and represent my company.
Yeah, I love that. So you've got the killer offer, scalable backend system, find a partner to basically run the backend system, and then have one killer sales rep that can replace you. Now, when you say a scalable backend system, is that fulfillment? Is that marketing and lead gen? Is it both? What do you mean?
Both. It's got to be both, right? So because I come from a sales first mentality, everything that I think about is how do I drive more leads for my company and how do I close that business at a good rate, right? So those two things have to go hand in hand. So lead gen, where's that going to come from? Is it going to come from cold email, LinkedIn, Facebook ads? A big thing that I do is referral partnerships. That's why I have a company called Referral Partner Academy. I learned in the first company that I founded, Codex, my lawyer actually forced me into this thing called BNI, which is a big networking group. And that was where I learned at a very young age that if I could be in a room full of people and I could pitch myself and tell these people that I'll give them a commission if they were to refer me their clients, then that started happening. And the sales compounds very quickly off referrals. So I don't grow my businesses off a typical LinkedIn automation and things like that's what kind of 99% of people do. If you're lucky enough to be in the 1% like Cole, where you can have a big social media presence, then that's how you typically scale. Otherwise, what I do is I find the routes less walked, if that makes sense. And so one of those things is referral partnerships, and that's what Project Icon is all about.
Tell me a little bit more about Project Icon, about what referral partnerships, because it's something that I hear people use the term a lot, but I don't think they understand it as deeply as you do.
So most people, when you think of a referral, it's somebody in your network that could use what I do, or you're talking to them the other day and they just magically say, oh, I could use LinkedIn automation. Oh, I know this guy, Justin, he's got this company, does this. Why don't I make an introduction? To most people, a referral is a very sporadic, chaotic form of a sale. However, everybody will say the same thing. The likelihood of that referral actually showing up to the call is about 70 to 80%. And the likelihood of that deal closing is above 50% every single time. So the lead quality is fantastic, but getting that lead is very chaotic. And so what I've learned is if I can systematize getting referrals, which is the essence of my funnel, right? Then I can continuously get referred business all the time. I don't have to focus on leads in any other way. And then I can go and scale up my business that way. And so that's Referral Partner Academy. That business was designed initially with, I think we've got over 1,000 customers now in that business, was designed initially to teach people how to get strong referral partnerships. Then what we realized is there's very few people, not very few people, but some people are extremely successful at getting referrals and some people suck at it. And when I started to do research with my partners and figure out why is that happening, we quickly realized that it's a credibility issue. So if you and I are on a podcast and I say, listen, man, love the synergies that are going on here. If you know anybody that could use my service and you referred me business, I'd love to give you 10%, but also I'll give you something else in return as well, right? So give you some excitement, some reason to want to refer. You might turn around and say, but I don't really know you. We just met, right? Who are you? You don't really have any social media footprint. I don't see you on Facebook as nothing. So Project Icon is designed to engineer your credibility, make you a influential person within your industry without making you an influencer. Okay, so most people that you talk to do not want to be social media influencers. Most business owners, they hate social media, they hate posting, TikTok dancing, all that stuff. But they know simultaneously that it is exceptionally important. So how do you get rid of that pain point and help them at the same time? And so that's where we realized that there's certain things you could do to engineer that credibility. So that way, when someone asks, or when you ask, excuse me, for a referral partnership, that person is more likely to say yes because you've purposely driven them content and certain things that helps them to get to know you.
That's powerful. So Project Icon increases the credibility to allow them to be able to get more referral partnerships effectively.
So it's Project Icon is essentially, even though it's its own business, like I say, I spin off companies from other things. So
Yeah.
normally with Project Icon, we will help someone build and engineer their credibility and then funnel them down to our referral partner system to help build them. And we've done this with celebrity figures. We've done this with huge people in the business that even Cole knows, like Rudy Moore and individuals like that. We've built their referral system. Because again, this isn't something that most people focus on because they all think that it's chaotic.
Yeah, so huge. So let's dive into those two different offers. Project Icon, what does that offer look like? What does it actually look like to work with your company? And then let's dive into Referral Partnership Academy as well.
Yeah. So the Project Icon, basically what we do is it's one part consulting where we do a deep dive into their current social footprint. Where are you lacking? Where are you excelling or exceeding? And then how can we tie these two together and optimize and uplift, right? And a lot of times there's things like you're not a published author, or you haven't been in any press, or you haven't done any speaking engagements, or you haven't done any live events. And so what we will actually do is we will create those things for you in order to make sure that you have those assets, right? So if you've never been a published author, again, part of one of my companies is a publishing house, which enables you to publish books at a very affordable rate. That way you can actually be a published author. But where we differ is because, again, think systems and funnels. Take that that book, and we put it into a podcast funnel, right? So that way, like when I book with you to be a guest on your show, I'm receiving some email automations from you, but it's really just email automations that kind of just say, hey, reminder, don't forget about this podcast. What I do is I really dive deep into the credibility side. From the time the person books to the time they show up as a guest, we are telling a story. And the story that we're telling is take a look at the book that we've written, download it for free. Take a look at the press that we've been in. Here's a speaking engagement. This is why I do what I do, et cetera, right? So again, by the time someone gets on with the host, they know a lot about you, right? So Referral Partner Academy, essentially what we do is we help build podcasts funnels for people, right? But the purpose of the podcast is to pitch a referral partnership at the end. Whereas most podcasts, or what most people are doing is that they're trying to sell something at the end. We don't sell anything. We teach our people not to sell anything, but instead to pitch a referral partnership. So that's how the two work in tandem together. So we create the credibility assets for the funnel, then we create the funnel and teach you how to do referral partnerships.
I love that because with the podcast strategy of people trying to sell something, you have to be skilled to do that effectively.
Which most people aren't.
Yeah.
Most people aren't. But the thing is that most people, if we're speaking candidly, right? Most people nowadays, they expect to be sold on something, right? After a podcast. And the people that don't expect something are, forgive me saying, they're a little bit ignorant, if you will, to the way marketing and advertising and lead gen is being done now, right? Podcasting is at the forefront of lead gen now because everything else has become so saturated, right? So what we're doing is we're doing what's popular, but we're flipping it on its head a little bit. If that makes sense.
So then what would that pitch look like? Hey, Justin, I think there's some synergies here with what we do. I'd love to, and then, okay, let's say you say yes. What's the next step from there? I'm not really clear on that.
So I don't really divulge that unless it's like
Fair.
unless I know that it's going to be a viable sales call. But what I can say is what we tell them, we give them an irresistible offer. That's what we call it. The irresistible offer is something that we come up with each of our customers. And it is so irresistible that it makes the potential referral partner want to refer you business right away so that they could obtain a goal that we've given them, right? Or obtain something.
Mm.
We call this, and this is something we've trademarked, the art of the one-way referral. So most of the time, referrals, and this is why people kind of love hate it. When you think of a referral, it's, hey, you refer me, I'll refer you. Refer me some business and I'll refer you some business, and we'll just both exchange 10%. But secretly, both people hate that they have to go into their network and refer, right? They want to get the referral, but they don't want to send out the referral. What
Yeah.
we've done is we've figured out a way to make it to where people are just referring to you and you don't have to refer back. And this is what we call the irresistible offer.
Wow. It's very intriguing. How can people how can people work with you with Project Icon, with Referral Partner Academy? Should they go to sign up for all those things?
Yeah, my LinkedIn is probably the best. It's actually probably the biggest social footprint that I have. You can obviously see my brand. I think I've got, I don't know, 15,000 connections, 10,000 followers, whatever it is, 15,000 followers. So, probably that, but also our website, projecticon.io. You can learn everything about what we do and you can book in a meeting with us there.
Nice. Awesome. Any final words before we wrap up?
No, that's it. You guys are in the age of podcasts. So you got to do it. That's about it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for your time, Justin.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
appreciate it, man.
So that wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go to projecticon.io to get more in touch with Justin and his team. You can also follow him on LinkedIn, Justin Heuff. That's Heuff. And you can find for Referral Partner Academy. You can find all of his different businesses there as well. Again, projecticon.io and Justin Heuff on LinkedIn. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with our team and discover how we were able to go from zero to $30 million in less than 3 years and how you can implement similar strategies. Until then, keep on climbing.